Hello the internet, welcome back to the Waifus. I am Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today we have finally the final verdict for Mana, the latest character added to Nike. Now there is a couple things that I want to talk about regarding her review and the tier list, which is also important. But before that, leave a like, subscribe, help me grow the channel, and let's get started with the review or the final review for Mana, if you will. And we can start talking about the tier list a little bit. The tier list needs to be revamped once again, and there is a simple reason for this, by the way. We are at the point in Nike once again where ratings are hard, where classifying some characters is really hard. So for example, if I talk about Mana and Sakura, they are both better than a lot of the characters here, but they are not a current meta tier character. So there is these differences once again. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be changing, this will stay as current meta, but I'm going to be changing good units, these two tiers completely, revamp them and call them raids. So the elemental characters you do want to build for specific raids, and they are good characters, but they are not like meta outside of the raids, or you don't care as much about them outside of raid content. They are not units that will carry you through every single game mode. I think that makes more sense for Nike as we keep moving long term into having more and more characters. It's having like your powerhouses on top. The current meta is going to be helping you, and then the raid characters right here, and then you have like your niche characters and whatever the fuck this is made by Shift Up with Clay and Vader, right? So I think that's what I'm going to be doing next. It's revamping these tiers, this couple tier right here, into raids, and then after that we will invite Ali Jane or someone else into trash talking my tier list so they can actually see if it's better or worse and what we can improve on that. That's it about the tier list. Okay, she's an amazing character and I would recommend getting one copy of her if you can afford it. Outside of the elemental raids, it's going to be hard to justify getting or investing in her. There are like situations. So first of all, your raids, both junior and solo, and also for anomaly interception if you care about that, or if you are lazy like most of us are. Getting Mana is going to make your life easier in order to auto Kraken specifically, right? Because now with Mana, you'll be able to push a lot thanks to the synergy with SBS, as you all know. At this point, I don't think I need to explain that, but it's going to be a lot easier to push with this team, and even if you don't have Nord, you can use the new Treasure for Helm, and that's still going to be an amazing team to push on auto, because you don't have to worry about anything. So those situations, Raids and Anomaly Interception, are where you want to get one copy of her. If you can afford it, I would recommend getting one. If you cannot afford it, it's already confirmed that the next character is 2 alts for Mast and Anchor. I'm not going to be showing them because we only got the sneak peek, but you can find the full designs already out there. That's it. Let's talk about Mana and her kit and how to invest in her. Now, as usual, this is my opinion. Any improvements that could be made, leave a comment down below and I will pin it. But let's start with the gear. Gear-wise, she's a pretty simple character. Sadly, I got really bad rolls. I got a couple elemental lines, but I haven't gotten anything good. As you can see, 3 elemental lines and a couple attacks, but just lines 1s and 2s, which is awful. But you want to go for elemental damage and max ammo as the priority, and then attack. Attack is phasing out into 3rd priority for most characters, because Shift Up, in order to keep making relevant characters, characters that are strong enough, needs to buff their damage a lot, needs to self-buff their attack a lot. So Mana is getting on skill 1 50% right here, and she's getting another 60% on full burst while she has the skill 2 up. So in that regard, attack goes into like the 3rd priority, and then your filler lines can be crit, can be hit rate, or anything else, right? Those 2 are gonna be good. So that's it, elemental and max ammo, then attack, and then some crit and hit rate as fillers. When it comes to her skills, skill 1 and burst can be left at level 7. There is a couple of things you could be changing. If you need more heals, the skill 1 can go into like a 10 or like an 8, 9, depending how many heals you need. But instead of just increasing skill 1, it's going to be cheaper to just change the cube and put Vigor or healing increase if you have it and you're not lazy unlocking those sectors like me. Skill 2 needs to be at least 8+. I would recommend if you can at least go to 9, and I think I put 8+ on the website as well. But I would recommend if you can at least 9, because this is what's giving the charge time debuff. Now, this is only if you are pairing her with SBS. If you don't have SBS, right now built, then you can leave a skill 2 at 7. But when you get SBS and you put them together, this needs to be 9, 10 at least. And then when it comes to her burst, sustained damage is still not an amazing damage type. So I will say you can keep this at 7 until we get the proper buffer for sustained damage. Even this 45% is gonna be improving her damage, but it's not amazing. So I think you can leave this at 7 without worrying too much. Of course, if you remain maxer and you are doing raids, you want to max out her burst as well for extra damage, but for most people, level 7 is going to be more than enough. And then lastly, when it comes to her cube, there is going to be the usual, either Resilience or Bastion. The only difference is, do you have enough max ammunition lines? If you have 2 lines of max ammo, probably 2 lines, you can be running Bastion. If not, like is my case, you can run Resilience and you're good. If you need more heals, you can be running Vigor or the HP cube as well. Those are going to be pretty good. Now moving into the pros and cons for Mana a little bit. By the way, she looks fantastic in game. I was not a fan, but I'm enjoying her a lot now. There is a couple of things that we need to mention. For example, for the pros, if you were running Alice and SBS, now finally Alice can be free for another team. She can go either into fire teams, she can go into the pierce teams, or she can be used as a buffer for another rocket launcher or a sniper rifle, making her gain even more value. The Alice stonks keep honestly rising up and I don't like it. As an Alice hater, I don't like it. Now, the other thing is that at the time of her release, we are still lacking wind DPS, so it's finally nice to get an extra one, even though still, you know, this is not like hyper carries, she's more of like a jack of all trades, if you will, right? But it's still pretty good. And the last pro, which I think is the best one in my opinion, is that she does everything. Even if she's master of none, she is not only providing good damage, but she's also constantly healing, giving air revive, and buffing rocket launchers and sniper rifles, making her value be a lot more in contrast to someone like, for example, Summer Sakura. She is a good DPS, but she is a lot more selfish in contrast to, for example, Mana that can provide boosts for the team. And then when it comes to the cons, at the time of her release, like I was saying earlier, this is like a double-edged sword. Sustained damage is no good because there is not like a proper team we can be making for sustained damage. There is a few characters you could be putting in here, like you have your Rosanna if you want to be running her. You have a couple characters now that can also be slotted in here with both Mana and Sakura, so you have 2 DPSs. And I'm pretty sure there's someone else doing sustained damage. Was it Viper with a treasure? I know there is someone else, but whatever it is, there is a couple more characters you could be using in there, right? And then the last thing I want to talk about Mana that I think is also important, it's the limitations on team composition. If you want to be using Mana with SBS, which is the case for most people, now you cannot put any other rocket launcher or a sniper rifle because they will be stealing this buff. SBS has the shortest, I believe is the shortest time for a basic attack at a 0.3 second. So she will basically be always losing this buff right here. Because if you go to this buff, it's based on the allied with the longest basic charge time. And that means that SBS will be losing this buff absolutely on every situation, or at least 99% of situations if you put the rocket launcher or a sniper. So that's like limiting a little bit team compositions on that regard, but still her versatility is a lot bigger in contrast to other characters we've gotten recently. Now lastly, if we were to talk a little bit about if you should pull or not, even though I said at the beginning, I think a copy is worth for almost everyone that's interested in raids, anomaly interception, and in general elemental content per se, whatever they are bringing in the future. Getting a copy is going to be good because again, she's not only a DPS like for example Sakura, that her value will stay the same for the most part unless we get other buffers, but Mana herself is healing, reviving, and also buffing those snipers and rocket launchers. So I would say if you can get one copy, get one. If you are right now kind of poor, should you ticket one copy? I don't think you should ticket one copy, but that's me as a well perspective that I am hoarding my tickets until the last second, right? Remember, we're getting 2 characters next that are alt units, and then we're going into the collaboration with Evangelion on February as well. So there's gonna be a lot of resources that you need to get the characters. That's it. That's gonna be it for the final verdict, for the final review on our guild right here. Like I was saying earlier, we do need to revamp some of these tiers. Most likely the good unit tier is going to be the raids tier now, and I'm gonna be revamping this into actually including the characters that are good for raids, good to build for that, but are not pure meta per se, right? That's it. That's gonna be it for this video. As usual, love you all bossos. Good luck with your pool degenerates, and see you in the next one.
役立たずは楽園から追放するのみ。ブランとノワールのショータイムです。天地万物を切るとはこういうことだ。